So I saw Oppenheimer opening night in probably the way it was meant to be seen. I saw it in IMAX. I was smack bang in the center of the theater. It was the film projection. It was unbelievable. It's probably one of the best cinematic experiences I've had in recent memory. It was so good to see a 3-hour movie that just everyone in the audience was keen to see. But there is a massive issue in this movie that just is not leaving my brain, and it's how the female characters are handled.
If we don't let scientists bring their families, we'll never get the best.
That's happening, isn't it?
I'm not here to virtue signal or get brownie points from women for like making this point. Genuinely, as a film goer, I just thought that the inclusion of these female characters and the clumsy way that Christopher Nolan handled them was bordering on insulting, and I don't see too many people talking about it. Now, I think Florence Pugh and Emily Blunt are both fantastic actresses. They've both proven themselves time and time again in countless different movies. Florence Pugh in particular is incredible. And the reason I say that is I think the script is doing them a massive disservice. When you look at Cillian Murphy and Robert Downey Jr.'s characters in this movie, they are incredibly dignified characters. You know exactly where they stand, you know why they feel the way they feel, and you know why they keep engaging in certain behaviors. With Oppenheimer's love interests in this movie, they are so poorly handled, and everything is told to you, not shown to you. Major character beats are handled off screen. And now you're probably sitting there at home going, Marshall, this movie is about the guy that made the atomic bomb, not about the women he was sleeping with. And I would agree on paper, except this movie sets up such an interesting conflict and dynamic with these two women at the start of the movie. It really felt like at the start of the film that the movie was going to explore the parallels between his personal self-destruction in his love life and the destruction he inflicted on the world with the creation of the nuclear bomb. And you can find those parallels if you really sit there and are charitable to the film. But I just feel like given the screen time and given the clunky exposition and just painful writing that these women are given comparatively to all the other major characters, it feels like as an audience member, you have to do a lot of the heavy lifting to draw these parallels yourself rather than the film sort of doing it for you. So at the start of the movie, there is basically a love triangle that plays out, and it is literally just the spark notes of it. He starts the film, I believe, with Florence Pugh's character, and then he meets Emily Blunt's character, knocks her up off screen, and then we just cut to him telling Florence Pugh, yeah, I'm going to leave you because I'm going to go be with Emily Blunt because she's pregnant. Bye. And then later on, he starts sleeping with Florence Pugh again while also being with Emily Blunt. And we don't get any scenes of either of these women alone. We don't really get to see how they feel, how they think, what they feel of the whole situation. Instead of getting these really powerful scenes where we see the impact that it takes on both of these women, maybe we see some beef or conflict between the two. It's just kind of flimsy and surface level, and it feels like incredible story potential that could have been explored so much more. I don't think Christopher Nolan has like an issue with women or anything. I just feel like there was so much story potential there that was just completely wasted. And I thought for a 3-hour biopic, we kind of deserved better. And the reason I say this is because I don't think anyone was moved or brought to tears when Florence Pugh's character committed suicide. I don't think anyone in the audience really cared that much. It was handled in such a clumsy, such a just, we got to move through this plot way. And it's like, I feel like Florence Pugh as an actress deserves better. It just felt like a massive waste of talent and also just a massive waste of story potential. And obviously that's how the story went in real life, but I just feel like it could have been better handled. We get this one incredible scene where Oppenheimer's like freaking out due to the guilt of like potentially driving this woman to suicide, and Emily Blunt basically says, you've got bigger shit to do, get your shit together. And that's it. Like, that's where this conflict kind of peaks, and then from there we never hear about it again properly, and it's just really disappointing. My favorite scene of the whole movie is when he's being interviewed in sort of this tiny room, and they ask questions about his guilt of Florence Pugh's death. And then it cuts to him naked in the courtroom, and then it cuts to Emily Blunt's POV, and she's having this like vision of Florence Pugh's character like riding him and like eyeballing her. It's haunting, it's weird, it's weirdly messed up for like a Christopher Nolan movie, and it just shows the potential of this conflict, and we never see it again. And it's like, why? I don't understand. Because again, I feel like the obvious parallel here is Oppenheimer's personal life destruction, right? His love life just completely exploding and resulting in this woman's mind breaking and her committing suicide. It's this haunting parallel that you could really be making between the creation of the atomic bomb. And it's like, it's there, sort of, but like, I don't think it's earned. These characters in this conflict take a complete backseat for like 2.5 hours. Emily Blunt's character has like no agency. For one scene, she's potentially like an alcoholic, and that's barely explored. And then I was really excited to see like Oppenheimer go from creating the atomic bomb and then having to go home and dealing with like domestic disputes and like his alcoholic wife, but that's completely brushed over. We don't really get a resolution there at all. We don't know how that unfolded. It just seems like all of a sudden she's a good mother again. It's just lame character writing. The whole motif of like, honey, bring the washing in, like the atomic bomb went well. It's like, look, maybe that actually happened in real life, but it's just so lame. It feels like the director wants us sitting there being like, oh my god, wow, what a husband-wife duo. The reason I bring all this up is you get this great performance at the end of the movie from Emily Blunt where she goes toe-to-toe with the people interrogating Oppenheimer. And she really like slams them for it and really roasts them and like really like stands up for her man, right? Like that's what the film is getting at. But the issue is, we've had like 4 minutes with Emily Blunt. We don't know how she feels about anything really. We don't know how she feels about Oppenheimer. We don't really know if she feels isolated from him. We don't know how she feels about him creating the atomic bomb. We don't really know anything. Because she's had no screen time really. This is just working on the idea of like, oh, this is what a wife does for her man, and this is what a man does for her wife, and he told her to bring the washing in. It's really, really lame writing for a movie that everywhere else is crushing it. And that's the frustrating thing here, is this movie, outside of these female characters, is phenomenal. Robert Downey Jr.'s character is incredible. The beef that Robert Downey Jr. and like Oppenheimer have is fucking awesome. It's so good.
Truman needs to know what's next.
2,
What's next?
1.
But it's like, I don't know, like I was sitting there at the start of the movie and I saw that haunting visual of Florence Pugh writing Oppenheimer, and I was like, oh, I want more of this. This is like heady and uncomfortable and like mentally torturous, and I thought it was going to be a through line throughout the movie. Even after Florence Pugh's character died, I just feel like that guilt really could have consumed him. Maybe you could make the argument that he buried the guilt deep inside the same way he sort of buried the potential that this atomic bomb had deep inside until after it detonated, and then he was wrapped with guilt. I just don't feel like the script did enough heavy lifting to really sell these big, powerful moments. And I think this comes to a embarrassing head in the I am become death scene. Oh my god, embarrassing. I don't know what on earth that was. She's basically, Florence Pugh is like having sex with Oppenheimer, right? And like mid throes of passion, she's like, let me pop off. And she like scurries off to the corner of the room and she gets this sacred text called one sec. So she gets a copy of the Holy Scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. And then he says, now I am become death. She like gets back on him. And then he continues to say the destroyer of worlds. I think the parallel they want us to have here is like, oh my god, like he destroys Florence Pugh's character's world by sleeping with her and leading her on and not being able to give her what she wants. And she gets so anxiously attached that she would rather be dead than not be with him. And then he has a really unhealthy relationship with creating the bomb, and then that destroys the lives of millions. It just feels like a really clumsy, lame parallel that like a 15-year-old would write in his first script. Like, oh my god, we're doing an act that's meant to create life, but it's actually going to destroy life. It's like, come on, man. I feel like that scene where he reads that passage from the holy text compared to like the haunting vision that Emily Blunt has of Florence Pugh's character writing Oppenheimer, it's just like, he literally does a better job of a haunting sexual scene in the movie. And the thing is, after that, the beef just isn't explored. You get this great scene where he's freaking out, and Emily Blunt's like, get it together. And then like, no, that's it, done. And again, you could make the argument that it's all about how Oppenheimer just buries everything inside until it's too late. But I just feel like the fact that like we didn't see anything to do with Florence Pugh for the rest of the movie. On top of that, Emily Blunt completely leaves the movie, has like no agency, has that really insulting, condescending, lame, honey, the test is gone, well, bring the laundry in. It's like, come on. Come on. And don't get me wrong, I don't have an issue with the story being accurately told. I have no issue with the representation in this movie being accurate to the times. I have no issue that all the people involved in creating this were pretty much men. Like, I'm not angry at that. I'm just saying these female characters had so much story potential and they had great actresses in the roles and they just feel completely wasted. Cut some other stuff and give it more, because it is the most interesting part of his personal life. All right, here's an example, right? Clearly Oppenheimer had some crazy fucking tendencies, all right? He was a bit of a nutbag. He literally poisoned a lecturer he did not like. So make that a point. Make that be like why he's attracted to Florence Pugh, because she represents his unhinged, manic, self-destructive side, right? Like maybe it's a really unhealthy relationship where they bring out the worst in each other and it's like a part of himself that he's trying to leave behind. And then maybe Emily Blunt represents this more grounded, more mature approach. And it's like, yes, you can obviously infer all of this, but I just feel like it's completely wasted potential. And it could have been a really interesting first hour, 10 minutes of the movie. And I feel like if it was done better, when all this stuff happens with the nuclear bomb and when Emily Blunt starts standing up for him and when he's wrapped with guilt, I would really feel it on like another level. I'd be like, oh my God, I have such an intimate portrait of how this character got there. But as it stands, that sex scene he's having where she gets him to read out the I am become death quote, it doesn't even make sense. He didn't even know about the bomb at that point. It's just really kind of bizarre. Like, he's just like, oh, I'll remember that for later as like a weird sex shout out after you're dead when I make the bomb. It's bizarre. Look, little Joel did like a better video on it than I did. People are probably going to hate this video from me, but I'm not mad because the movie mainly focuses on men. I'm just disappointed because I see so much potential in this movie to have explored it better. And I feel like, honestly, just make the movie 4 hours then. Give me more. They're great actresses. There's a great story there that could have been done so much better. It's just really disappointing. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I'll do a full review of Barbie and Oppenheimer like in the same video, probably like later this week. But this was just addressing one aspect of the movie I found really disappointing. Thank you so much for watching. Have a lovely day. Please subscribe if you're interested. Thank you.
Rockstar attitude, baby. I know it's driving you crazy. I'll leave you waiting on the phone, and then I'll ask you for a loan. Such a dude.